Okay, so now we are on Genesis 7. Okay. Anyways, so remember that God has been living with these people, right? Not just in heaven, but he is like actually interacting, right? Because he said, I can't stay with you forever. So it's important to remember that there's a reason he already knew that he couldn't stay. And he was disappointed, remember? So um, if he was disappointed, he wasn't, he had better expectations for uh, the good in people, right? So then the Lord said to Noah, oh, sorry. Come into the ark, you and all your household. Which, by the way, I heard that there was a guy who said that he thinks that the ark is going to be discovered, which will bring a lot of people to Christ. But anyways, come into the ark, you and all your household, because I have seen that you are righteous before me in this generation. So there's a generation of people who are not righteous. They're in the flesh, right? And only Noah, sorry, and his family. Noah is the righteous one, right? And he says, you shall take with you 7 each of every clean animal, a male and his female, 2 each of animals that are unclean, a male and his female. Also 7 each of the birds of the air, male and female, to keep the species alive on the face of all the earth. For after 7 more days I will cause it to rain on the earth 40 days and 40 nights, and I will destroy from the face of the earth all living things that I have made. And Noah did according to all that the Lord commanded him. Noah was 600 years old when the flood waters were on the earth. So Noah, with his sons, his wife, and his sons' wives, went into the ark because of the waters of the flood. Of clean animals, of animals that are unclean, of birds, of everything that creeps on the earth. 2 by 2 they went into the ark to Noah, male and female, as God had commanded Noah. So he means 2 by 2, male and female. So on some animals there were 7, on some animals there were 2, and I believe that there were other animals that were of 1. I don't think that all animals are considered clean and unclean. I think some animals are just, I could be wrong, but I think he was talking about the clean ones that eat of the vegetation and the unclean ones that probably eat of meat. Is what I'm guessing. I don't know, because there's a different type of feces that comes out of an animal that eats meat than of an animal that eats vegetation. And that's why they say it's better to eat, for us, to eat animals that eat the vegetation. They're considered clean, right? So like lamb, cows, but not pigs, remember? Pigs can eat everything. But I've heard other people say that as long as you feed the pig clean food, then it's okay. I mean, there's a lot of stuff with the scientists nowadays, but who knows? You don't really have to go back and forth over that. It's just what was written. And it came to pass after 7 days that the waters of the flood were on the earth. Oh my goodness. I got to stop yawning. I'm restarting this lesson another day. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, in the 17th day, which is probably February 17th of the month, which is my mom's birthday, freaky, On that day, all the fountains of the great deep were broken up, and the windows of heaven were open. And the rain was on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. So all the waters from the great deep were broken open. So that would be all of the springs and everything, right? From the great deep, they were broken open. On the very same day, Noah and Noah's sons Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and Noah's wives and the 3 wives of his sons with them entered the ark. They and every beast after its kind, all cattle after their kind, every creeping thing that creeps on the earth after its kind, and every bird after its kind, and every bird of every sort. And they went into the ark to Noah 2 by 2 of all flesh, in which is the breath of life. So those that entered, male and female of all flesh, went in as God had commanded him, and the Lord shut him in. So he commanded these animals to go in. Now what's interesting is, I think we're going to read, if I'm not mistaken, how people were laughing. But I think I would have gotten a clue if I saw all these animals filing in. But anyways, now the flood was on the earth 40 days. The waters increased and lifted up the ark, and it rose high above the earth. The waters prevailed and greatly increased on the earth, and the ark moved about on the surface of the waters. And the waters prevailed exceedingly on the earth, and all the high hills under the whole heaven were covered. So all the high hills, all the mountains were covered. Well, maybe not the mountains, I don't know, but it says the high hills. So maybe just hills. I don't know, but maybe it also means the mountains. Oh, no, and here it says, the waters prevailed 15 cubits upward, and the mountains were covered. But you can look up what 15 cubits are, and how that would mean that would be the highest mountain, because they were all covered. And all flesh died that moved on the earth, birds and cattle and beasts, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, and every man. All in whose nostrils was the breath of the Spirit of life, all that was on the dry land died. So the Spirit of life, all that was there, it all died. All in whose nostrils was the breath of the sick. So he took the ones that God said, right? And all the other ones died. So he destroyed. Sorry. He destroyed all living things which were on the face of the ground, both man and cattle, creeping thing and bird of the air. They were destroyed from the earth. Only Noah and those who were with him in the ark remained alive. Now, it's interesting because there are people who read, because God said, and cattle. There are people that actually worship cattle because he separated their name. While others say that's because they were what we were supposed to mainly eat, right? So it's just interesting, the different interpretations. But yeah, he said cattle, okay, but I don't. He also says that the only one to be worshipped is him, right? Not the animals. But he also says that some people will worship his creation and not him, which is a sin. And the waters prevailed on the earth 150 days, right? So then, Genesis 8. Okay, do we have time yet? Then God remembered Noah and every living thing and all the animals that were with him on the ark. And God made a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters subsided. The fountains of the deep and the windows of the heaven were also stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained. So no more waters were coming out of the deep, and the rain stopped. And the waters receded continually from the earth. At the end of 150 days, the waters decreased. Then the ark rested in the 7th month, the 17th day of the month, on the mountains of Ararat. And you can look up where that is. So the 7th month, right, July. Yes, July 17th. I mean, I'm just going by the calendar, that we have. So it came to pass at the end of 40 days that Noah opened the window of the ark which he had made. Then he sent out a raven which kept going to and fro until the waters had dried up from the earth. He also sent from himself a dove to see if the waters had receded from the face of the ground. But the dove found no resting place for the sole of her foot, and she returned into the ark to him, for the waters were on the face of the whole earth. So he put out his hand and took her and drew her into the ark to himself. And he waited yet another 7 days, and again he sent the dove out from the ark. Then the dove came to him in the evening, and behold, a freshly plucked olive leaf was in her mouth, and no one knew that the waters had receded from the earth. So he waited yet another 7 days, and sent out the dove, which did not return again to him any more. And it came to pass in the 601st year, in the 1st month, and in the 1st day of the month. So, 1st day, 1st month, 601st year, that the waters were dried up from the earth. And Noah removed the covering of the ark and looked, and indeed the surface of the ground was dry. And in the 2nd month, on the 27th day of the month, the earth was dry. Let's see, on the 2nd month, on the 27th, February 27th. Go out of the ark, you and your wife and your sons wives with you. Bring out with you every living thing of all flesh that is with you, birds and cattle, every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, so that they may abound on the earth and be fruitful and multiply on the earth. So Noah went out, and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives with him. Every animal, every creeping thing, every bird, and whatever creeps on the earth, according to their families, went out of the ark. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord, and took of every clean animal and of every clean bird, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. And the Lord smelled a soothing aroma. Then the Lord said in his heart, he said, I will never again curse the ground for man's sake. He did it for the sake of man. Remember? But he said he'll never do it again. Although the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth, nor will I again destroy every living thing as I have done. While the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, winter and summer, and day and night shall not cease. So, this is very important, because he says, as long as this earth exists, because he already tells us it is going to end, but he says, as long as it remains, we will have a seed time and a harvest. We will have cold and heat. We will have winter and we will have summer. And we will have day, and we will have night, and that shall not cease. So all these people who scare the heck out of everyone with all these, horror stories about what's going to happen with our climate, not that we're not supposed to take care of the earth, but he already promised that. God promised that is going to continue, So stop letting people strike fear into you over things that they do not understand. Okay, that's going to be it for today. Have a great day.